is the Doublet Special Master.
Live and direct.
Breakfast with CubCamTV.
Trickstar Radio.
Yes then, people, we are back inside the building once again. Welcome back to Breakfast with KXVU. We are getting into the sounds of the interview hour, our daily section where we jump into interviews with different artists from around the world, discussing what they do, their sort of positions within the industry, and their stories as well. Today, we're getting into a conversation with someone who did join us on Brekkie in the Cave last year, someone who is actually the voice of my outro on YouTube, someone who has been doing absolute bits over the last year, helping different songwriters and performers, alongside putting together some of the most strong kind of hits around the world over the last few years as well. I'm really excited to get into this conversation. We're joined by the one and only Vision Alexander. How are you doing, sir?
Hey, what's up, Kovu? What's up? I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
Each and every time, sir. It's always a pleasure having you back on the show, and I'm really excited to get into this conversation this morning. Now, obviously, there's lots of stuff for us to get into, and you were on Brekkie in the Cave last year, and it was one of our most kind of interactive with shows, so I always look back on that one as a bit of a kind of turning point for the channel. Kind of with yourself, what's been kind of happening over the course of the last year, which I know is a big question, but I know you've been very busy, so do you want to talk us through what you've been up to?
Well, first trying to survive COVID. I don't think it really worked. I did catch it, so I'm here in Florida. I think Florida forgot the memo that there was a world pandemic.
Of course.
Because we've been open the whole time. But for me, it's been kind of a blessing in disguise in the sense where, as a songwriter, I've been able to link with a lot of artists. Nobody's touring anymore, so a lot of artists are home. They're working on their new projects, such and such. So I got the opportunities to work on some projects, work on my writing as well. And it's been a blessing in disguise, That's mostly just trying to stay busy, trying to put out good music, work with big artists, and just keep the vibes going, man.
100%. I mean, last year you had one of the biggest tunes of the year, obviously with Right Now. What kind of happened off the back of that for yourself? Did you kind of find yourself drifting much more towards the writing side of things, or did you want to keep going with studio stuff? Like, what happened after the success of that as a release?
Well, after Right Now, the success, it was such a great vibe. A lot of people don't know that I always wanted to be a writer from before. So I'm a soccer guy, football guy. I always wanted to be a writer, but I always knew that, okay, if I want to work with the best, I got to think of it like a football player, like to be a coach, to be a trainer, whatever. Professionals prefer to work with players professionals prefer to work with coaches that have played the game before.
That makes
sense. So
I
always said to myself, okay, if I want to work with the best, let me get into the artist mode and try to understand what it is to be an actual recording artist. So doing that, I had some success as an artist, Right Now being one of the successes. And it opened up the lane for me to go into what I really wanted to do, mostly, which was to be a writer. But then, I got caught up between the two. So after Right Now, the success was really great. The feedback, a lot of people were like, wow, Vision, the reggae music, you're really good at that. And during that entire time, I was actually working on the album with Jesse Royal, which was a blessing in disguise. Before I actually met Jesse, I linked up with Sean Alaric, the Grammy producer, who had a lot of success with Coffee on her album, her Grammy-winning album. And I was writing some music for myself to get back into the game. And Jesse heard one of my records that I wrote, a song called Lion Order. And as a result, his people reached out to me and was like, hey, Vision, we love this song. How would you like to give it to Jesse? At first, I wasn't really with it because I was trying to keep it for myself. But then I thought about it. And on top of it, I got to meet Jesse in person and realize how cool of a guy he was. And an amazing artist, an amazing writer. And the rest is history. We just started working on the project for 2 years. He flew me out to LA. I went to Jamaica, did some writing with him, and it's amazing. He put out an amazing album just the other day in June, and I'm so happy to be a part of it.
100%, bro. I mean, it's an album that we actually have reviewed live on the show. It's an album that's done absolute bits. There are a number of really, really kind of standout hits on the project as well. I mean, from a kind of writer's perspective, when you kind of look back on projects like that, do you kind of see yourself in the album?
the thing about being a writer is like sometimes you have to know when to disconnect and understand that you have a role, So my role is basically to be an asset to the vessel. The artist is the vessel. I'm just the messenger. So at the end of the day, now my job is to just go to ports, pass on the message, and wish the vessel good luck on its journey. And hope that I meet the vessel again at another port. So I always feel like there's a part of me with the vessel as it goes on its journey. And I just hope that they have a safe travel and we can do it again. But yes, I always give a part of me to that vessel,
That's one of the best metaphors I think I've ever heard. That's a fantastic way of putting it. But yeah, it's really, really interesting to hear. And obviously, even with the success of the more sort of writing as an approach, obviously the album's done really, really well. It's charted really well, and it's been doing bits around the world. You have more recently been back working on your own sound as well. Obviously, Birkin is the single we're going to be playing in just a few minutes. Do you want to talk to me about this tune and obviously coming off the back of all the written side of things, transitioning back into the more performer side of things, how you found that process?
Yeah, well, with Birkin, at the same time while I was working on Jesse's album, I went back to working some of my stuff. I wanted to get into another sound apart from reggae. Birkin was a song that we just were playing with sounds, me and Sean Alaric, and we got lucky to place it in this movie called Catch a Fair One that got premiered at Tribeca Film Festival. So I never really had intentions of actually putting out the song because, it got placed in the movie. It did what it had to do. But my team said, hey, how about you share this song with the world? Let people hear it. People love it right now. They love your sound. Put something out. And we did it, and the success has been great. And I love the feedback that I'm getting from you, from people. And yeah, Birkin, for the ladies.
I mean, from what we've seen as well, it has been really, really successful, and it kind of puts me in a position now where I'm going. You have this kind of fantastic, I suppose, success rate when it comes to the actual artist side of things, and you've also got that kind of, I suppose, almost renown at this point within the writing side of things. Do you ever find yourself wanting to take on more of the sort of vocalizing side of things, or do you still feel very much that songwriting is your sort of homeland when it comes to the music side of things?
With the songwriting, what I love about songwriting is that when you're a songwriter, you get to get into certain rooms that you really can't get in as an artist, So for me now, I'm able to get into a room with my favorite artists, be a part of a record, and then who knows, you might get a collaboration. That's a question that I've been asking myself a lot. Like my team has been saying, hey, what are we doing? Are we going to just do the songwriting? Are we going to be an artist? And sometimes I just go with faith, sometimes I'm led by faith, not by sight. So wherever the vibe is, like we never thought that we'd have gotten into that movie. So at this point, it's all about what the fans want, what they want. If they say, Vision, put out an album, we want something from you, I have no problem doing that. So we'll see with time.
I mean, obviously,
but I am working on some new stuff.
I mean, this is what I wanted to kind of get into, and we'll get into this a bit more during the second part of the interview. But obviously, you are someone who is quite active on the socials. We see a fair bit of you kind of floating around and being involved in different sorts of things. How much feedback do you tend to get via sort of social media in regards to what you're doing musically?
Very positive, especially as being a songwriter. A lot of people message me to ask me a lot about what's the avenue in terms of being a successful songwriter internationally. And to cut a long story short, the most I tell people is this: it's 90% business, 10% talent. If you don't have that business sense with anything that you do, it's not gonna really add up. So I more see myself as somebody on the social media side to influence and to help songwriters, young producers to know that, hey, there's other avenues in this business where you can make a living. And not everybody's meant to be on the front stage. You never know what other roles you can play on the field. Like, not everybody can be a striker. Some people have to play in goal sometimes. So that's what I mostly get from social media, is that I'm able to respond to people who kind of are lost in the direction where they want to go musically.
I mean, it's such an interesting thing to kind of hear, and seeing how kind of involved you are in wanting to guide people in the right direction. We're going to get into a lot more of that in the second part of the interview, and I'm really, really excited to get into that. I'm sure a lot of our listenership will be as well. For now, though, we are going to jump into Birkin. It's just gone at 14 minutes past 9 here on Trickstar Radio. This is Breakfast with Kovu. This morning, we are live on the line with Vision Alexander. Really excited to carry on this conversation, so keep it locked and don't go anywhere.
This is Breakfast with Kovu, bringing you their morning flavours on Trickstar Radio.
Trickstar Radio.